Will you do more than simply fly the American flag? Will you do more than simply put a patriotic bumper sticker on your car? Can you do more? As the bearers of his legacy, and South Carolinians that heeded the call of duty, such as the Honorable Senator Hollings, I challenge each of you to stand up and be counted. Volunteer to register voters no matter the party affiliation. Volunteer your times in schools. Volunteer to help those in need and less fortunate than yourself. Stand up and be heard. Be heard at your city council meetings. Be heard at your local school boards. Be heard on the issues that affect you and your neighbors' lives. Be heard by your legislators, your congressmen, your senators. Make sure they hear your voice. In this way, you will honor William Henry Drayton's memory, and in turn be responsible for helping to keep the flames of liberty burning high enough to warm the soul of humanity for years to come. We should honor the legacy and memory of men and women like William Henry Drayton and Senator Hollings. They stand as reminders as what it means to stand up and be counted as an American. But if we really want to honor their legacies, then let us take the examples of their lives to heart and use it to inspire us to stand up and be counted. For they are the shining examples proving that one human being can make a difference and make this world a better place for us all. Thank you.
I now would like to invite Allison Ray and Marion Graham Edwards, descendants of Mr. Drayton, to come forward to unveil a portrait of William Henry Drayton. Now please welcome Edward Rayner Drayton III, who will give the response for the Drayton family.
I want to look at the portrait first. I am truly excited, honored, and proud to be here today in this convention center, to be a participant in this program, and to respond for the Drayton family. On behalf of the entire Drayton family, our thanks and appreciation to the South Carolina Confederation of Local Historical Societies for William Henry Drayton's nomination, and to the South Carolina Hall of Fame and its Board of Trustees for his selection to its distinguished gallery of citizens. The color portrait is indeed wonderful. We also want to thank Craig Hadley for his insightful research and tribute for William Henry Drayton and into his life and contributions, the man, as he led the revolutionary quest for freedom in South Carolina. The family also congratulates Senator Hollings for his induction into the Hall of Fame. In reflection, William Henry and Senator Hollings share many of the same attributes, like determination, boldness, and my favorite, complete immunity to intimidation, while in service to their state and country. William Henry Drayton's legacy to South Carolina and to his family is his enthusiasm for change and for patriotism, and his disregard for the consequences of failure or loss of security, power, or wealth, when his personal beliefs or philosophies were challenged. Each of us has at least one opportunity in life to seize the moment and make a difference. For each of us, at that moment of decision, we hesitate and ponder. We are truly thankful William Henry Drayton seized the moment and made the difference. Thank you very much for this great honor.
now come forward, please. I'd like to present this plaque as a commemoration of the occasion for the Drayton family, and something that you can cherish, if you will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now a musical tribute to the occasion by the Coastal Carolina University Concert Band. Thank you so much. To introduce our next speaker, I'd like to call upon Mr. Brad Dean, who is the president of the South Carolina Hall of Fame and also President and CEO of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. Brad?
William T. Cooper was born right here in the independent Republic of Horry County and grew up in nearby Conway, South Carolina. He completed the Citadel in 1950 with a Bachelor's of Science degree in business and later served his country in the Korean War. He was subsequently discharged as a captain in the United States Army. He married Trudy B. Cannon of Charleston, South Carolina in 1953. Together they have 5 sons, 1 daughter, and currently reside in Charleston, South Carolina. William Cooper owns and is active in Southeastern Galleries, a 50-year-old home furnishing center in Charleston, South Carolina. Here to introduce a legendary figure in South Carolina's history, please welcome Mr. William Cooper.
Thank you so very, very much. What a wonderful occasion. I thank you for this great honor. I wanted to say just a word before I have some remarks for the Senator about Mrs. Hollings, but the tribute of this Irish tune was, I think, more than anything else anyone could do. I would like to say, though, that their marriage was more than a marriage. It was a team and a partnership. And so many of all of the things that we talk about and hear about, she was so much a part of. And I'd like to tell one of my favorite stories, if Pete will permit me. In Washington, when one of the newly elected presidents, the senator had invited him to their home for a dinner party so he could meet some of the leadership of the Congress. So the day before, Pete was hard at work getting ready for everything, and the telephone rang. On the phone, the guy says, "I'm from the FBI, Mrs. Hollings, and I need to know who your chef is, and we need to ask him some questions, and we need to get to him right away." She said, "Well, you're talking to the chef, and you can come right over because we can use all the help we can get." As we gather to pay tribute to a truly great American, I think of the words of Abraham Lincoln. The world will little note and long remember what we say here, but it can never forget. It can never forget the impact on us and future generations because of the long life of public service of Ernest Frederick Fritz Hollings. To recount the many accomplishments of Senator Hollings would require tenfold the time allotted to us. Therefore, let us look at a brief outline of his public service and then examine in more detail some of the visionary programs attributed to the Senator that had such a positive impact on our state. A native of Charleston, Senator Hollings graduated from the Citadel in the famous class of 1942. He served in World War II as a U.S. Army officer, starting with America's first major campaign in North Africa and finally ending in Europe with the surrender of Germany. Returning from the war, he entered the USC School of Law and graduated a year earlier than normal. The following year, at age 26, Mr. Hollings was elected to the South Carolina House, beginning his 50-plus years of public service. In his second term, he was elected Speaker Pro Tem and was again elected to this prestigious post in his next term. 2 years later, he became Lieutenant Governor and in 1958 was elected to the highest office in our state, becoming the 82nd Governor of South Carolina. In 1966, Mr. Hollings was elected to the United States Senate, where he served with distinction for 38 years. When he retired in 2005, he was one of the most senior members in the Congress and was regarded by many as one of the most influential and effective senators to have ever served in that distinguished body. He was known for his fiscal conservatism, and he was nationally recognized for authoring the Graham-Rudman-Hollins Act, which mandated a balanced federal budget. He led the Congress in the fight to protect the environment and its natural resources. He championed the causes of ocean and coastal resources, marine management, and research. In South Carolina alone, he secured funding that protected 5% of all the land in the state. In the last 15 years, he brought $200 million to South Carolina to buy, protect, or build facilities on 890,000 acres of the state's most pristine land. Notwithstanding all the spectacular accomplishments of this great American, let us keep in mind that we are actually inducting the individual in this Hall of Fame. In that context, let us consider 4 qualities or virtues of this gifted individual. 1 is intellect, 2 is vision, 3 is compassion, and 4 is duty. We would like to address these qualities in that they arguably exerted a major role in this life of public service. First, intellect. As we've mentioned, he completed law school a year earlier than normal. As a young attorney, he served as counsel to General Mark Clark, who was chairman of the Hoover Commission. General Clark, who observed Hollings daily, very matter-of-factly said to me one day some years later when Mr. Hollings was a U.S. Senator, "You know, that Fritz Hollings is the smartest man in Washington." And in his bid for the presidency, members of the press reported that Senator Hollings was the thinking man's candidate. While it may not take a rocket scientist to know that you have to take in more than you pay out, Fritz Hollings was the first South Carolina governor in the 20th century to balance the state budget. And during his tenure, South Carolina obtained a AAA credit rating. It was the first southern state ever. And he did this when he was 36 years old, being the youngest governor of the state of South Carolina in the century. Quite a feat. And what does this mean? The credit rating determines the interest rate charged on state bonds, highways, bridges, industrial, and educational bonds, among others. It means that the state, with its agencies, save millions of dollars a year in the interest over what the majority of the states have to pay that have lower ratings. Even today, only 7 of the 50 states enjoy this highest AAA Moody rating. Let us now look at one example of the vision of this 36-year-old governor and how it has served our people. In order to bring industry into the state that would offer better jobs and more comfortable lifestyle for the South Carolina average worker, Governor Hollings established the South Carolina Technical College System. Their mission, and I quote, is to provide learning opportunities to the disadvantaged that would promote the economic and human resources development for the state. It would provide the right of every citizen to reach his or her potential through education. And today, the technical education system serves some 237,000 South Carolinians, 107,000 of whom are credit students. Today, 51% of all public first-time freshmen are enrolled in a technical college on some 16 campuses throughout the states. Students that probably could not afford to be in college were it not for Governor Hollings' technical college system. Incidentally, the South Carolina Technical College is not only big, and to give you some idea of how big, our prestigious University of South Carolina has 25,000 students on its main campus and has another 13,000 on 7 regional campuses. And it may not be just the biggest, it might just be the best. For example, Ireland, the hot country in the world today, attracting high-tech industries in record numbers, implemented a technical college system which is driving that expansion. And where did they send their group to study a system to emulate? You're correct. Governor Hollings' South Carolina Technical Education System. if there were no South Carolina Technical College, there would be no BMW, no Michelin, no GE, no Nucor, or hundreds of other companies paying higher wages to thousands of South Carolina workers. The technical college is just as relevant today, and in the years to come, it will be equally indispensable. Now let us discuss compassion and duty and how they impacted two causes which hopefully history will give due credit. First, let us consider Webster's definition of compassion as a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with a desire to alleviate it. And duty, put simply, is doing every day those things you ought to do. The first cause is poverty. Although as governor, Mr. Hollings was exposed to the poverty problem, it was in his first term in the Senate when his crusade really began. Responding to a plea from a Catholic nun, Sister Anthony, Senator Hollings accompanied the sister on a tour to see firsthand the real poverty that existed in South Carolina. This was the first of many days and evenings the senator spent touring, observing, and studying the problem. He first wrote a book, The Case Against Hunger, detailing the problem in order to bring his findings to the attention of the country. This first-hand information guided him as he championed legislation like women, infants, and children's programs, expansion of community hospitals, and other programs to fight poverty and malnutrition and improve health care for everyone. When thinking about champions of the poor and the sick, we think of President John F. Kennedy and his Food for the Hungry and the Peace Corps. We think of Mother Teresa ministering to the poorest of the poor. We also think of former President Jimmy Carter eradicating diseases in third world countries. And this month, we think of Time Magazine's recognition of Bill Gates for putting his $26 billion foundation to work for the poor, saving over 700,000 lives through vaccinations. I submit that Senator Hollings' lifetime of labor in this field has contributed results that are comparable to the aforementioned noble causes. The next cause, and one of the most contentious issues of the day, was integration. Dealing with this problem certainly required all the intellect, vision, compassion, and duty of our then young governor. While riots were occurring in neighboring states led by governors with axe handles and other governors with deputies blocking school entrances, our young governor declared, "We are a nation of laws, and as governor, my oath is to uphold the law, and the duty of every citizen is to abide by the law." And again, the rest is history. South Carolina, not looking back, moved forward under Governor Hollings with a more harmonious program that saw Harvey Gantt, Clemson's first African-American student, successfully complete 4 years and graduate. He later became a distinguished mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina. Senator Hollings' foresight put us ahead of most of the southeastern states in education and economic development. In addition, South Carolina gained the respect of the black and white communities nationwide. Governor Hollings led the people of South Carolina to do what was right. In conclusion, let me say that while I treasure the friendship of Fritz and Peachy as one of my greatest blessings, I thank you as a citizen of South Carolina, and I'm sure that I speak for everyone in this room when I say we thank you, Senator Hollings, for making our lives better, but more importantly, we thank you on behalf of our children and our grandchildren. Thank you, Senator.
I would now like to introduce the wife of Senator Hollings, Peachy. If you would stand, please. And I'd have PC join the senator to unveil the portrait if you will.
I tell you, when Bill Cooper graduated from the Citadel, he was awarded the highest honor, the John O. Wilson Ring, which is voted by the classmates as the most manliest, as the most courteous individual of the class. And now we can all agree after that introduction, he's also the most generous friend I've got. So I'm still smart. I picked the right one, didn't I? Thank you very, very much, Bill. I want to thank my friends and supporters. That litany of Bill Cooper's, all of that occurs because we were working together. And we had friends and we had supporters. And after 52 years of public service, necessarily 22, 23 statewide campaigns, you really get to know and understand and really, really appreciate my supporters. And I want to thank them, particularly my best, the best supporter, Pete, and thank the Hall of Fame committee. I know you're going to get some feedback on how in the world did you ever make this decision, but you can just tell them that I was the first Myrtle Beach beach bum that ever went on to be the governor and the United States senator. I'll never forget, in the years before the war, we worked over at the Ocean Forest Hotel. There wasn't a single house, hardly, between Patricia Manor and the hotel itself. And Mike Obika, he operated the chicken shanty, and across was Home Springs and real estate, the Delta drugstore with Dr. Cox and Ransom Williams. Ransom went on to be the governor, but he wasn't a beach bum. And so I'm glad to be back to my roots here at Myrtle Beach, and particularly to be associated with William Drayton. That is an honor. We do have something in common. We were both revolutionaries. He fired on the British a year before the Congress declared independence, and I've been revolting for years against the outsourcing of jobs and the corruption of money in politics and the spendthrift America. Good gosh, we haven't paid a bill. That Craig Hadley got me charged. He's talking about everything that they did and how that